You may be seated. I invite you to take your copy of God's Word and join me in the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 20, and we'll begin in verse 20 in just a few moments. In the world's economy, the most prominent positions are the ones at the very top. That's where the rewards are. That's where all the recognition is. At the top is where you get the special treatment, the recognition. And this is what the world craves. That's where people serve you. They don't serve you really at the bottom. They serve you at the top. If you're in a long line, the front line is better than the back of the line. Would you agree? Have you ever been in a long line? That's true whether you're at the donut store or if you're at a restaurant or if you're somewhere where you're just trying to get a good seat. If you are going to take your pick, you want the front of the line, not the back of the line. Because the back of the line, by the time they get up there, what do they get? You just get the leftovers. You got the stuff that was already picked off, and then you just got what was left. Well, I would just tell you today that in God's economy, the most prominent position, the greatest rewards are reserved for those at the back of the line. Those who place themselves at the back, who choose when they have those options to go towards the back as opposed to the front. And when it's all reversed, when we go stand before the Lord and rewards are handed out, the greatest rewards will be for those that are last, those at the very back of the line. There's a Masters golf tournament, if you keep up with golf, or if you don't, that's going on this weekend. And everyone kind of knows this intuitively. The Masters golf tournament is about the golfers. It's not necessarily about the caddies. No one's gathering today for the final round today to cheer on the caddies. They're cheering on the golfers. Because the caddies, they're the guys that have just been carrying the clubs all weekend. They're the guys that have just been handing the golfer his clean club that he's cleaned off every time it was swung. They're just the guys who cleaned up the divot. They're the guys that if the golfer wants to launch his golf club in the woods, those are the guys that go out there and get it. And so those won't be really celebrated today, but I would just tell you, and as a reminder for us, that those who serve, those who carry the burdens of others, those who put themselves last, I'm telling you, there's incredible rewards for all those who serve. Mark 9:41 says this, "For whoever gives you a cup of water to drink in my name, because you belong to Christ, I assuredly say to you, he will by no means lose his reward." The title of the message today is The Service. The service. This is the fourth sign in our 7 Signs of Disciples series, the service. Consider with me in the first couple verses, ambitions that are desired. Ambitions that are desired. And this is what we all crave. Verses 20 and 21 say this, "Then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to him with her sons, kneeling down and asking something from him. And he said to her," this is Jesus speaking, "What do you wish?" She said to him, "Grant that these 2 sons of mine may sit, one on your right hand and the other on the left in your kingdom." And so they're coming with some ambition, some desires are coming to the front, and they're asking a request. And so here's the petitioners. You have the sons of Zebedee and their mama. The sons of Zebedee are James and John. They have been given the nickname by Jesus Christ as sons of thunder. Now, the mother is voicing the request. She's the one that is speaking. But she is speaking reflects the desires of her 2 sons that she has brought with him. And the evidence for that is going to be revealed as we get deeper in this text. You're going to see it's really them asking the question, but you can go into other gospel accounts, and especially Mark's, which is Peter's account of this, of the gospel. But even in this scenario, Peter doesn't even mention the mom is there. He just says the sons of thunder, the sons of Zebedee mention this request. But it's the mama that's going to voice it on behalf of her sons. It's kind of interesting that the sons of thunder had left Zebedee in the boat, but they're still clinging on to their mama. We want to come ask a request of Jesus, but Mom, will you do that for us? The sons of thunder. That's kind of interesting that they're doing that. I would just tell you, if I could speak to the moms for a moment, there comes a time in every boy's life that he needs to let go of his mama's hand. There comes a time in every boy's life where he needs to become a man, and he needs to be able to go on his own. There also comes a time in a boy's life where he needs to stop asking and leaning on his mama. We want to do this, but Mom, will you do it? Will you go ask them for me? Will you go do that? And there just comes a time where he needs to become a man. And the sons of thunder need to become sons of thunder and go on into God's will without their mama. But that's the petitioners. That's those who are asking the request. Let's look at the petition. What are they asking about? What are they really asking? Well, they're asking Jesus, I want to sit on your left and on your right in your kingdom. They're simply asking, this ambition that's desired is, we want to be the greatest in your kingdom. You know, Moses and Elijah, they're fine, they're good. But maybe they could just sit a little further down on the table. We would just assume we would get the two best positions in your kingdom. That's an ambitious request, would you agree? We want to be the greatest and sit in the chair, the two greatest chairs there is. Those are ambitious desires. And I would say ambitious desires are not uncommon for a disciple of Jesus Christ. Those ambitions for recognition, ambitions to be great, are there for us all. In fact, I can remember a time not too long after I got saved, I started realizing I was getting teaching opportunities, and I was struggling with every one of them. And man, I'd open my Bible at home, and I'd be like, man, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know where to start. But I had this desire and to be a good teacher, to be a good preacher. And I remember exactly where I was. I got off the couch, nestled myself in between the couch and the coffee table, got on my knees, and I threw out an ambitious request. You want to hear it? I'll be transparent with you today. I said, Lord, if it'd be all right with you, I'd like to be the greatest teacher and preacher of your word that there ever was. That's an ambitious request. And I did. I said that. My prayer is a little bit different now. My petition now is, Lord, please don't ever let me think that I'm the greatest teacher and preacher there ever was. So it's changed a little bit since those early days. But I would just tell you, when we desire to do great things for God, sometimes those desires to do great things, those ambitious desires, which I think are good, if we're not careful, can become bad if those turn into just our own recognition. If we're not careful, those desires to do big and great and mighty things for God, and I don't know about you, but I still do. I want to do great things for the Lord. I can't help that ambition that's there, but if we're not careful, it can be turned into, Lord, I'd just like to be recognized. I'd like to be the front of the line. I'd like to receive all the praise, and I'll just tell you, that's a request he's not going to answer. It's all about him, and those are petitions that we need to be careful of. Let's talk about an answer that is demanding. An answer that is demanding. So Jesus is going to answer their request. They threw out a petition, and he's going to answer that, and there's something demanding about it. If you look with me in verse 22, it says, "But Jesus answered and said, 'You do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink the cup that I am about to drink and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?' They said to him, 'We are able.' So he said to them, 'You will indeed drink my cup and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with. But to sit on my right hand and on my left hand is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it is prepared by my Father.'" Well, let's just talk about this cup. You hear the cup that's being referenced here. What is this cup? Why use this metaphor, and what does it represent? Well, the cup represents a specific assignment that God has for your life and for mine. And so Jesus says your request, your petition that you're asking, it's going to demand a cup. that you drink from, if that's your request. And so really the cup, it represents God's will, specific will for your life and for my life. And so Jesus referenced his cup. He references in that they have a cup. And I would just tell you today, you have a cup and I have a cup that we must all drink from. Jesus Christ spoke of his cup in Matthew 26, verse 39. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he said this. It says, he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "Oh, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." I will tell you this, anyone that God desires to use in a great way has a specific cup. And in that cup is great blessing, absolutely. But within that cup is suffering. It's the cup of suffering. And for Jesus, for him to accomplish his will, the will of the Father, he knew he was going to have to drink from that cup. And in that cup, in his own cup that's not in ours, but in his, was to be a sacrifice for you and for me and for the entire world to pay for their sin debt. And so he had a specific cup that he had to drink from. Well, the disciples, they had a specific cup. And that's going to be mentioned here in a minute. But they didn't really know what they were asking. He says, you don't know what you are asking. It's going to demand a cup of suffering that you drink from. By the way, I didn't know what I was asking either when I was making my request known before the Lord. I didn't really know what I was saying, but I'm just telling you, in a cup of a disciple that you and I must drink from, that specific will, there is a cup that costs, and there is a cup that includes sacrifice. And so let's just talk about the concern for a moment. The question demands an answer from you specifically. It's a cup that nobody else can drink from but you. Notice what they said in response. They said to him, "We are able." You notice it's just the boys talking now, right? Mama has gone to the back. She's no longer, and from this point forward, she's not even going to come into the picture again. And so it's just the boys that must give an answer to Jesus. It was their request, and they must answer, and they say, "We are able." And their cup, James was the first martyr of the apostles in the New Testament. He's martyred. The apostle John in his cup was going to be exiled to the island of Patmos. That was in his cup, would be the last apostle to die, but they both had cups that they were going to have to drink from. I was thinking about my ordination service, and my ordination service, the preacher, my mentor preached, and he had 13 points to a sermon. Mine's got 3 today, okay? I don't have 13. But 13 points, and every one of them was painting this picture of what was going to be in my cup that I was going to have to drink from. And I tell you, going back through that, it reinvigorates me. It calls me back to the challenge of the call that God has for my life. But there was one thing he says in that sermon that kind of jolted me then, and it jolts me still today. He looks at my mama out there, and I don't know if she'll remember this, but it's online, it's on video, you can watch this. And he says, "Am I painting a good picture for your son?" And right after that, he says, "It's going to break your heart before it's all over with." And I don't know who's concerned, me or her, in that, but there is this cost. And today, that still kind of is like, man, if I could ask him one question today, he's gone to glory, up there at the top would be, man, what did you mean by that? What is coming? But I would just tell you there is something in each one of our cups that is a sacrifice involved. There's a cost involved, but you and I must drink from the cup. And mamas, let me just talk to you for just a moment. Because as they fade to the background, these boys are the ones answering. Mamas can't answer the question because it's not her cup. You must take your hands off of your boys. There was a time when you fed them with the cup. You fed them literally with your body. You were feeding them, but there comes a time where you must let them go and you give them and hand them over to the cup that Jesus Christ has for them, and they are the only ones that can drink it. You can't, as much as you want to protect them, you can't protect them. As much as you want to keep them from harm's way, you are doing a great detriment to their life, and it's your fault if you don't let them and let go so that they can drink the cup that we all have before us. And so there is this cup. Every disciple is given a cup. Did you know that? God has put a cup before you. He's put a cup before me. And that cup includes service. That cup includes going to the back of the line. That cup includes that we must drink from it. And you're the only one that can do it. And here's the deal. We get concerned down here with our chair in heaven. Where are we going to sit at this great marriage supper of the Lamb? What's going to happen down there? Let me just point us back to our concern today. If you're still alive, and you are, you know what your concern is? It's not so much where you're going to be in heaven. It's, are you drinking from the cup that you have before you right now? Because you have a cup right before you. And how dare us get concerned with something that's going to happen that we have no control over? Jesus says, that's prepared for my Father. What are you even concerned with that for anyway? Your concern and my primary concern would be the cup, God's specific will for our life, and are we drinking from it? That's your responsibility. That's my responsibility. We all need to be concerned with our cup that's before us today, as opposed to getting concerned of where we're going to sit and who we're going to sit next to in heaven. Are you drinking from your cup? Well, let's take a lesson from angry disciples. Some angry disciples. Look with me in verse 24. It says, when the 10 heard it, they were greatly displeased with the two brothers. That's a term that you can translate as indignant. They were mad. They were greatly displeased. And here's kind of what that means. It means that it's something you're mad about when it's considered wrong or unjust or really unfair. It's the cry of envy. It's the cry of jealousy. It's the cry of envy. It's the thing that you feel when someone else has something in their cup that you want. It's the cry that you can hear throughout the world when somebody else gets something and they're not so much as mad that they're getting it as they are that it's not really happening to them. How did they get that in their cup and it's not really in my cup? And so it's the cry of envy. Some will call this white privilege today. Some call it, and they name it all kinds of stuff today, but ultimately I think what you can boil it down to, it's a cry of envy, because what's happening to someone else, they're really mad that it's not happening to them. And so you have the 10 standing by, they watch the boys with their mama, right? Blood must be thicker than water, I guess, right? The two boys are, man, they're going to get that position. What about us? And if they get that, we would like to have that. And this cry of envy starts getting circled around in the group. It's a cry that it's in our world today, and it's a cry that happens within the church, this cry of envy. And it's really what happens when you take your eyes off your cup and you start looking at somebody else's cup that's next to you. And that cry of envy can work its way out of our mouths if we're not careful. And so I think of Peter. Peter certainly among the 10, and he heard John and James' request through their mama. And I don't think Peter ever got over it. In fact, if you look in John 21, I'm going to read to you John 21. This is Jesus is laying out the assignments for Peter and the Apostle John. And John 21, verse 18, it says this. He's talking to Peter. Most assuredly, I say to you, Peter, when you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wished. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will gird you and carry you where you do not wish. This he spoke, signifying by what death he would glorify God. And when he spoke in this, he said to him, follow me. Now, that's a lot to deal with if that's in your cup. Would you agree? That's what was in Peter's cup. And you know what Peter says? If you look in verse 21, Peter says, Peter, seeing him, the Apostle John, said to Jesus, Lord, what about this man? If that's in my cup, well, I'd like to know what's in his cup. Jesus said to him, if I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? You follow me. Guess what? It's not my business what's in your cup. And it's really not your business what's in my cup. And we'll do ourselves a great service, and Jesus provides a cure for our envy if we'll get concerned with our own cup and take our eyes off our neighbor's cup, and that'll take that cry much further down. Because really what's in every disciple cup is to go to the back of the line and that we serve one another. That's the lesson that we can take from some angry disciples that he's about to get us into. We need to take our eyes off our neighbor's cup. And maybe you're looking out there, man, how did they get that assignment? How did they get this? How did they get that? It's none of our business. The question that Jesus has, the demand that he has for us is, you follow me. You follow me. You drink from your own cup and quit worrying about somebody else's. Well, that's the envy. Let's look at the expectation that Jesus Christ has for us all. In verse 25, it says this, "But Jesus called them to himself and said, 'You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who are great exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you. But whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your slave.'" The expectation that he says for every disciple is that you serve one another. The worldly expectation, the way the worldly gets their rewards, the way they go to the front of the line, the way they demand at the front of the line, that is not going to be a characteristic, that will not be a sign of my disciple. The sign of my disciple will be one who serves, one who puts themselves last at the back of the line. So the road to prominence in God's economy starts at the back. It starts at the bottom. It does not start from the top. And there's two words Jesus has that he gives his disciples that really communicate this concept. Before he goes into them, he says, look, the world, they're going to lead from the top down, but you're going to lead from the bottom up. And there's two words that just stick out of this where we translate servant and slave. The word where we get servant from, he says, whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. The Greek word for that is diakonos. It's where we get our English word deacon. And so if you want to be great, you must be a servant, one who serves. You know, some churches have, in selecting their deacons, they've kind of used the wrong criteria. And it's kind of gotten them in trouble at times. And so it happens really everywhere. You know, they'll get a guy that they think, man, this dude looks good from the outside. He looks good, better than that guy in a pair of khakis. He should be our deacon. And we'll put him in this role of prominence within the church and we'll be just fine. And then what happens is if you use the wrong criteria, is instead of getting a servant who craves to be at the back and to serve the church, you get a demon who craves recognition, because that's not the criteria that Jesus has. You must be a servant and a deacon within a church. As I'm taking this high street, he is the one that leads by example and who is the greatest of the servants of all. And when you have that, I'm telling you, you got a deacon within your midst that's ready for the office. But I'll just tell you, many have gotten in trouble because they've used the wrong criteria and they put a man who craves recognition, and you did not get a deacon. You got something really bad. And there is something he's telling his disciples, his apostles, and he's telling us all, if you want to become great, you need to become somebody's deacon. You need to become somebody's servant, which is each other's. You need to serve one another. He uses another term to kind of hammer home his point. In verse 27, he says, "And whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your what? Slave." That's a Greek word that's called doulos. And that means that you belong to somebody else. You don't even have rights to your own life. And your whole life is consumed with somebody else's agenda, somebody else's expectations. And so you're devoted to the owner. And you're consumed with their interests while neglecting your own interests. Is that a great picture? I'll just tell you, the world will not drink from that cup. If that's in the cup to go to prominence, I'd like to just get served as opposed to serve. But I would just tell you, Jesus Christ says there's a cup for every one of you. And if you want to become great, you must drink from it. And included in that drink, sacrifice, yes. There's a cost, suffering, yes, absolutely. But also that's included for every one of us is that we'll be a servant and a slave to one another. When you put the needs of somebody else above your own. That's for us all. Let me just speak. I mess with the mamas out there today. Can I speak to the dads in the room? Because guess what? God places that cup before every head of the household. And the world would argue with me on this and argue really with the Bible that there is no such thing as a head of the home. Everybody's equal and that's oppression. Let me just tell you, God has orchestrated, laid out his plan, his idea for the home. And it includes the head of the household, which is the dad, and who is the husband. But for the dad, you know what his cup is not to lead from the top down like the world would lead. The greatest servant in the home is the head of the household. He should be living it by example, serving his wife and his children, showing them what it means to be a slave and a servant of the home. That is how you lead. It's what we call today a servant leader. It's not dictatorship top down, it's leadership from the bottom up. And I would just tell you, dads and husbands in the room, I got all y'all, it's our cup to drink from. It is our responsibility, and our family knows what it looks like if you want to be great in God's kingdom, because they see it first exemplified by the head of the home in the house. And so we have this cup, dads and husbands, fathers, we have a cup to drink from, and it's a cup of service. And it's expected of us to drink from it. Bottom up, not top down. Well, let's get to the ultimate example in this. Jesus says in verse 28, he says, here's the example. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. The greatest example of us for us all. Does the dad need an example as he sets one? Absolutely. Does a deacon in a church need one? Does a pastor? Does every disciple of Jesus Christ need one? They do, and they have one, and it's Jesus Christ. He says, just follow me. I'm showing you the greatest example. In fact, he uses the term Son of Man. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served. Son of Man is a term that comes from the Old Testament, specifically in Daniel chapter 7, and it's a title that represents the highest rank that you can have on earth, the Son of Man. It's a title that Jesus applies to himself, because not only is he the Son of God, he is the Son of Man. He is the God-man. And just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, he says, I've come to serve. The highest chose the back of the line. The highest chose the lowest on the totem pole that there is on this earth by coming as a bondservant for you and for me. And it says, what did he do? To give his life a ransom for many. Ransom is a purchase price to set somebody free. That's what the word means. To whatever that price would be needed to set them free. And Jesus says that price is my life. He gave up his life to set you and I free from sin. And thank God that he did that for us. And in doing so, left us an incredible example of what it means to have the service being lived out in your life. So he gives us this example, and then let me deal with this word many, because I think some have struggled over this. To give his life a ransom for many. Well, I thought he came to give his life a ransom for all. 1 Timothy 2:6 says, who gave himself a ransom for all to be testified in due time. So is it all or is it many? Well, the answer that the Bible gives is yes. He gave his life as a ransom for all, but it won't be applied to all, because not everyone drinks the cup that he offers. But everyone who responds to Jesus Christ and gives them their yes to follow him, gives them your yes to allow him to be the Lord over your life, to give over the control of your life, to ask for his forgiveness, to make him Lord. Not everyone's going to drink that cup, but those who do will find that he gave his life as a ransom for them, and also an incredible example. Here's the deal. God doesn't place the cup of salvation in front of you for you to look at it. God doesn't place any cup in front of you for you to lift it up and just smell it. God doesn't place any cup in front of you to kind of examine it or set it down. You know why he put that cup in front of you? So that you would drink it. And you and I must drink from the cup of salvation, and we must drink from the cup to following him in obedience, whatever God's specific will is for our life. Psalm 116, verse 13 says, I will take up the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. You know one way that you drink from your cup? You call out on the Lord Jesus Christ. And the way you drink it is you call out on him and you make Jesus Christ the Lord of your life. I don't know if you've ever been to a get-together. You ever been to a get-together where, man, they got a bunch of red cups around and everyone's got to grab from their cup? And if you don't put your name on it, that cup is gone. You ever notice that? You ever been to hopefully a wholesome get-together where that's happened? But there's just cups, man. And then by the time everyone grabs one, what happens is they start setting them down. And then you set yours down and you don't know where your cup is now. And then you got to go find it. Well, here's the thing. God has not misplaced your cup. God knows exactly what your cup is. And here's how. He has written your name on it. You have a name on your cup. You have a cup with your name written on it. And Jesus Christ is the one who put it there. And he puts that cup before you, and you don't have to worry about what it is. And I'm telling you, as I'm preaching this message, hopefully God has identified something that was in your cup. And he did it not so that you'll look at it and set it down. He put it before you so that you would drink from it. Well, we're going to prepare for this last song today, at least for this part of it. And for our invitations, we prepare to take of the cup of the Lord's Supper. And as we do, I just ask you would consider your cup. Because here's what happens. Some people look at their cup and they think, you know what? I don't like what's in there. And they will just set it down, throw it away, and then start looking for a new cup. And the world gives you plenty of options. And the world gives you a cup that says no suffering. Drink from that. The world gives you a cup and it's got a label on it that says nothing but blessings. Drink from that. The world will give you a cup and it's got stuff, all kinds of stuff written on it for you to drink that. But I'm telling you, the one that you need to drink from, the one that has God's very best for your life, is the cup with your name on it. The specific will of God that he has for your life. And that is the cup that you must drink from. And many people have tried to trade in their cup only to substitute God's very best for something that doesn't even come close. God's very best for your life's not in your neighbor's cup. It's not in the world's cup. It's in the cup with your name on it. And I'm telling you, he's put one before you today. That might be the cup of salvation that you need to drink from. It might be the cup of obedience in an area of your life, of following him some way. It might cause sacrifice. It might be suffering. And your mama can't drink from it for you. Your daddy can't drink from it for you. Nobody else can drink from it but you. And you must drink. Let me give you just a commitment that I have as the pastor. You're a pastor of this church. My commitment to you as pastor, I will refuse to trade in the cup God has for our church. I refuse to do that. Even if it means tearing down a building, regardless of whatever is in the cup of Robinwood Baptist Church as your pastor, I refuse to turn it away. I will do everything I can to hear what's in that cup. I will do everything I can to pray for that, to pray for you, to lead you through Scripture, to pastor you, to put that cup before you so that all of us together as Robinwood Baptist Church will drink from that cup. I don't know if that's good enough for you, but I'm content with that, to do everything I can to not trade in our cup for whatever they're drinking from down the street, from whatever another church is drinking from. We need to drink from our cup. And you can walk outside and you can see a little taste of what's in our cup. And it may not be popular, and there may be stuff to come that may not be popular, but I refuse to turn it away. I will not turn my nose up. I hope you won't either. I hope you'll join me. We'll all get around the cup God has for Robin Wood Baptist Church. Not examine it, not peek into it, but that we'll drink it. Because that's why he puts it there. And he puts it there before us all. The disciples' cup. Every disciple's got one. The cup of service. Get to the back of the line and you serve. And you be someone's slave. You be a slave of the church. You serve to edify another. And you know what will happen if you do that? You gave the world another sign that you really are a disciple of Jesus Christ, as opposed to being an imposter or opposed to being in the world where you really just crave recognition. Disciples will get to the back and they will serve. And that's in your cup and that's in mine. Would you drink from it today? Would you take that drink? Would you stand to your feet with me? And I just invite you to, just for a moment as we pray, would you bow your heads and hearts? And I'd like for you to just consider your cup that's before you today. Please don't think about the person sitting next to you, your neighbor, or the other family in this room. That what's in your cup? Dad, husband, what's in your family's cup? What is the cup he has for you? What's in it? For some of you today, you've already heard a little bit about what's in your cup. But up till now, you haven't really been drinking from it. In fact, you've kind of turned your nose up at it. In fact, you thought, you know what, I'd rather have a different cup, Lord. I'll send this one back. Send me another. This one's dirty. God's not going to do that. He's put a cup before you, and it includes his very best for your life, for your children's life, for your family. And he put it there before you and for me to drink it. Would you tell him yes, and would you take that first drink by committing to obedience to him today? Let's do that together. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you right now, and we pray you would give us courage to take the drink. And not just one drink, but that we would continue to drink from that cup all of our days. For some of us, it's the first drink of salvation. For some of us, it's that next step of obedience, where baptism. Some of us are further down the line, but we still need to drink and take another drink of the next step of obedience of our life. For some of us, we're towards the end of our cup, but you're still calling us to take even that last drink. I pray for all of us in this room, we would say yes, that we would obey you, and we would drink of the cup that's before us today. As we get ready to sing this last song, I pray that you would do so. I pray and encourage you to take that step of obedience, drink from your cup. As we sing, won't you come and pray these steps? Why don't you bring your family, dad, husband, if you want to do that? Why don't you just tell God yes and drink from your cup today? And in a moment, we'll prepare for the Lord's Supper. But for now, let's tell him yes before we turn to the Lord's cup in just a moment. As we sing, why don't you take a big old drink from the cup Jesus Christ has for you? As we sing, won't you come? Won't you obey?